Hello, everyone. Good morning. Can everyone hear me? If everyone's okay, can just give me a thumbs up so that I know that I am clear. Okay, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I am Janice, and I'm pleased to share that I'll be the host for today's session. So today's session will be on business and finance. As you know, that there's a Career Month series that we're organizing right now, and this week we're very pleased to have you join us today. So just to before we start, okay, just a few ground rules so that it will be a bit easier for everyone to navigate today. If you could, please do name yourself in, whether it's your name and your school name or whichever place that you are representing. If you're not talking, I'll appreciate it if you mute the mic, just so that when the speakers are talking, we don't get distracted by the sudden voice. In case you may be wanting to ask a question as well. Turning on your camera, I'll leave it to you. Some places I know that the connection may be a bit bad when you're on the camera, but if not, you can keep it off as well. But if not, do turn on your camera so that the speakers feel a bit less lonely. Ask questions. If you have any questions regarding our program or anything for the speakers itself, please feel free to leave it in the chat. You can also unmute your mic. If it's more comfortable for you to leave it on the chat, we are also okay with that. You can also leave it in Mandarin if that is more comfortable for you, and we will also answer accordingly. Next to you, I hope that you do have a good cup of coffee or tea or water, in fact, just so that you can feel comfortable. And, we hope that there's coffee also so that you can stay wide awake throughout our session today. And most importantly, have fun. I hope that you find this session very fruitful and that it gives you more insights to the industry. So just to share with you the event flow, the first part of it will be our session by Dr. Zhang Jianling. He'll be sharing about the decision under uncertainty, excuse me, on heuristics and biases. Okay, and then the next session will be a panel discussion with our head of UL programs, Ms. Sylvia Yeo, and also two of our alumni that have been working very closely with us and have always been very active in school. So I'll let them introduce themselves a bit more later. And then finally, we have a corporate sharing from 11:30 to 12:30. So if you are a current SIM student, especially, and you are looking to for your internships or you're graduating soon, and you're thinking where can you go next, this would be the session that you would definitely want to stay until as well. And we have Hayatli, which is what we know as work previously, who will be coming and joining us and sharing as well. So with us, we also have Miss Sylvia Yos. Let me just share my slides for a second to just introduce who the panel is. So together with us, we have Ms. Sylvia Yeo, our Assistant Director for the SIM UOL program. We also have two of our alumni, Ms. Lam Kari, whom I'll be calling Kari from here on. She is one of our UOL alumni, and she is now a digital marketing executive at Santa Fe location. And we also have Gwen, who is also an alumni and is currently an auditor in KPMG. So without further ado, can I just invite everyone that is part of the panel to on your cameras, and yes. Okay, so first and foremost, okay, we have heard a fair bit from Dr. Zhang and his background and all that. So maybe we can invite Silva first to share a bit more about yourself.
All right. Well, when I first joined SIM, it was 30 years ago. Some of you were not even born yet. I know, Gwen, Kai, you're like, huh? Yeah. So we had about 500 UOL students at that time. But now we have over 5,000 students. And this year we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the partnership with University of London. So I'm so pleased to have been able to be with SIM along this journey to see the program grow and expand. And for the last 20 years, I've been so pleased to be able to work with Dr. Zhang. As he says, he was a student, he was my student. Now
Wow.
he's my favorite colleague, and we work close together to support the students in their academic journey. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Wow, 30 years. So a lot of experience there. So if any students have any questions about the UOL program, please feel free to ask Sylvia. She will know like the whole history of UOL as well. So thank you, Sylvia. So maybe Kari, you can go next just to share a bit about yourself and what you're currently doing, what program you were taking. Yeah.
Hi, so my name is Kai. I'm from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, and I graduated from SIM UOL Business and Management. I'm currently working as digital marketing, right, in Santa Fe relocation, and yeah, I've been working for nearing 2 years here in Singapore after I graduated. So yeah, I think I've been in Singapore for about like 6 years in total because I joined SIM even for my diploma, and then I moved on to taking a degree with SIM UOL.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Kari. So we will get a bit more into details about her diploma and her degree and why did she choose SIM later. So maybe Gwen, you can go next and share a bit more about yourself as well.
Hi, my name is Gwen, and then similar to Kai, I also did my diploma in SIM. I am also Malaysian, but I'm not from KL. I'm from Penang, and then I graduated from UOL Accounting and Finance. I'm working in KPMG KL in audit.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Gwen. So Penang, and we all love our Penang food, right? So now that you're in KL, do you miss it as well? Since we can't travel across states right now as well, right? I'm sure you miss
Yeah.
miss your
Food.
family in Penang. Yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing. So I think many people usually wonder, what is University of London, because there seems to be, academic direction from different partners. So maybe I can direct this question to Sylvia, and Dr. Zhang can also add in as and when about University of London, like an introduction about UOL.
All right, maybe I will start. I think many people don't realize that University of London is not just one institution. University of London is actually made up of a federation of about 17 different colleges, and the oldest is University College London. So University College London, UCL, we actually partner them for a master's program in professional accountancy, which is targeted at ACCA members and affiliates. And then 35 years ago, we actually started this program with LSE being in charge. They are the ones in charge of the curriculum, the examination. And so along the way, I think my, I think still almost 30 years ago, okay, 20 something years ago, I think we started the Goldsmiths program in computing. So it's quite different. So when our students say that, I'm a UOL graduate, what does it mean? Well, they have the benefit of saying that, yes, they are University of London graduate because the degree certificate states, University of London is awarded by University of London. However, they also have the benefit of saying where their college is or which college provided the curriculum. And for Gwen and for Kai, and since today we're focusing on business and finance, their programs are under the academic direction of LSE. And you can see here the latest QS World Ranking. They are actually first in Europe for social sciences and management. So LSE, if you Google LSE, is always very highly ranked. Yeah. Back to you, Janice.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvia. So yeah, as shared, Kai and Gwen do come from the one with the academic direction from LSE. And yeah, so I just wanted to ask Kari and Gwen, like what made you decide to take up this program? Like when you were finishing your secondary school, what got you to decide, hey, maybe let me try this UOL program or the diploma that you took before? Any of you can start first. Maybe Gwen can go first.
Okay, the time when I decided to choose SIM, it was actually because I applied for the SIM diploma scholarship, and then I was offered the scholarship. But that's not really the main reason also, because actually at the same time I had offer from local metrics and local Sunway University. I also got scholarship. But I mean, I did the math. I mean, if you were to stay in KL, study in KL all the way to degree, and including living expenses and all that, I would say that actually it's almost the same. The range, I mean the range, and then the exposure is different, I think, because if you go to Singapore, I think it's a very different exposure. that's why at the end I chose to go to SIM. And actually, I did my due diligence after I signed the contract. Actually, before we started school, me and my mom went down to Singapore, and then I did a field trip to SIM because I was like, okay, the picture of the campus looks nice, but is it really like that? Then I was like, okay, let's go and have a look. So after I went there, I felt like actually, okay, mom, the campus is nice and all that. And it was exam season, so everybody was studying. So it's a very conducive study environment, I would say. Yeah.
I want to say that you are making a very careful decision. You are not in the shutdown. That's the right way you need to do. Do an investigation in all things that this kind of important things that you need to make. Yeah.
Yes, I was just thinking that it's very relevant to what was shared earlier, that you made well-informed choices before you made your decision as well. Thank you for sharing, Gwen. What about for you, Kai? Was it similar?
I would say mine is a bit different. Mine was I didn't do as much research compared to Gwen. So first thing is why I chose Singapore, right? Like when there are so many like unis and diploma like courses in KL. Is like first thing is also because you get to sort of like travel abroad, right? Because and then you'll get like a different kind of exposure when you're outside. And when I was in KL, I'm like a super chill kind of person. I don't really study. Yeah, I never got any scholarship lah. So yeah, that proves something. So yeah, I was always very chill in KL and like so my mom was suggesting how about you want to go and further your studies in Singapore. So we actually went down to SIM and a few different unis, of course. But overall we still find like SIM like the better choice, including like like they also provide CAs and all the clubs that I'm able to join like, which is something that I'm very like proactive into because I don't like to just study, so like like this kind of thing makes a difference. So yeah, then also like of course the cost is actually about the same actually if you were to go to like private unis also in Malaysia, KL. So we're like why not, and me coming here like really proves that it's the right choice. Although I actually applied for the diploma like the first time I went out to SIM and I saw the campus, I'm like, okay, that's the one. And then I just immediately applied for it on the spot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Kari. You got to know that the campus was such a good like decision point at that moment. This is not a bias because the campus is really very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So yeah, so I think Kai mentioned something about not liking to study as much previously and all that. So then I've always heard that UOL is very exam heavy. So just wondering how did Kai and Gwen go through that. But before that, maybe I will ask Dr. Zhang this question first. How when people say that UOL is exam heavy, but during the classes, how are they run so that because just now your sharing was very interactive. So I believe that the classes, despite being exam heavy, may actually be very interactive in class as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you could share a bit. Yeah.
First of all, I think more and more courses from UOL don't just consist of examination. Increasingly, there are courses that give 30% of final result based on projects. Okay, increasingly, courses in more applied in nature, courses like information system, data science, business analytics, computer science, all these will have components of projects. Okay, and traditional social sciences in economics, in management, for these courses is actually from university point of view, it's better to assess students based on examination. Okay, and I have to say that classes nowadays we know students they like interaction. They learn better by doing something together with their lecturers. So I have to say we have to incorporate quite a lot of class activities, on-spot quizzes for students to participate. These are things that you can expect. Okay, today I'm teaching you something that I only teach my students in second and third year materials. Okay, so if you're able to follow, that means you are very good. Okay, but if I just read through my slides, I don't think you'll be able to follow. But if I invite you to participate, to think about the questions, and the idea will just comes in quickly. So these are the things that you would expect to take place inside our classroom. And the other thing I want to say is that when I received this question from you just now, and I thought if this is a question for Malaysian students, and I will be really, really glad, because students who ask these questions, that signals to me that these students are serious. Okay, I really worried to see the students who they fear, they can do, they can study, they don't need to worry about the challenge of the courses, they can do well in the exam. So these are what we call overconfident students. Every year I have many of them. They're fine. They come in, they promise themselves they will be able to do so well, etc. And eventually they don't, obviously. Okay, so when you ask this question, I feel very safe. And Malaysian students, Indonesian students are of this type. They are cautious, okay, and they are realistic, and they are hardworking. So they come in with the expectation, URL challenging, it could be exam heavy. So what happened? And they will basically design their study, their learning to conquer the challenge. And that explains eventually why Malaysian, Indonesian students tend to do a lot better than many others, than students from many other parts of the world. So I'm glad that you asked me this question. It signals the intention, seriousness, and good attitude. And from our end, we know your worry. We have more than 30, we have 35 years of experience guiding students in this journey. And that explains why year after year, we have been able to, to see so many of excellent graduates, from SIM. And that explains why we have, more than 5,000 students starting UL degree at SIM. Bear in mind that these degrees are all designed and assessed by world-leading institutions, universities. They are very top in the world. LSE, for example, #1 in Europe and #2 in the world in social sciences and management. Okay, so you are studying something that ranks extremely highly in the world. Obviously, it will be challenging, but remember, when you graduate, your degrees are recognized. So that relates to my third question. So you take the degree now, or you watch it now? My answer to you is that you do your research. Not all the degrees are the same. Okay, so it's better to challenge yourself over the next 3 years and then graduate with a degree that will benefit for the rest of your lifetime. Okay, so I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. I think it was great, very good to hear that, you mentioned, the students from Malaysia have been doing well. And also, yeah, as a being in Malaysia itself, when we speak to students, they are usually really very concerned also on how well they would do. So you can also see that the initiative there is to do well. And they have the intention to do well in school. So let me bring this attention back to our two alumni, because they will have firsthand experienced it. So if you could share, Kari or Gwen, how did you cope, studying in UOL? Because the degree is definitely of good, quality assurance, and there is substance in all the things that you study in it. So it's definitely going to be not a piece of cake, lah, huh? Yeah. So just wondering, how did you cope with studying in UOL?
Okay.
First, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I would like to just clarify, right? So when I went for the diploma in SIM, I didn't really do too much of research, but I did when, I was converting to I was choosing UL for uni. So yeah, also before I went to UL, I already know that, it's very exam heavy, especially for business and management, right? So, you have to mentally prepare, of course, before you enroll. So I guess it's not the easiest, definitely, right, degree to study, but I feel that, I feel like it's challenging, and it's as long as you put in effort, and time, and if you have, because UL we also have lecturers coming over, right, when it's nearing towards the exam, and they will really answer all your questions. And those classes are like super important. So like, you know, there are a lot of like resources to actually guide you, and also of course you have to study on your own to actually excel and to score it lah. So I guess it's just a very simple like formula. You just need to work hard and just study for it.
Thank you for sharing, Kai. What about you, Gwen? Is it similar?
Actually, I think if the students they come from like if like similar to me and Kai, if you come from diploma and then you suddenly jump to UL, I mean it depends whether you do the bridging or not. I would say if you do the bridging is a very, very, very good example of how UL would be like, because I think because of the bridging, right, I'm super mentally prepared, because I think bridging was the most stressful exam for me compared to UL, because the time was so short, and then the syllabus is like and then everyone is like, oh, you know, UL very hard to score, oh, very strict. Then you will be like, and then the time is very short. So I would say it's true that it's very stressful, but I would say that the good thing is that the lecturers are very nice. I will always remember that my bridging lecturer, because everyone was very worried about econs and math. For me, my bridging was econs and math. My math lecturer was very good, and econs was Sovan. So Sovan was very chill. He was like, it's not rocket science. Just listen to my class, read, please read. Then we were like, okay. Yeah, so I'd say that in a sense, it is stressful. Like I admit, like what Kai said, but if you study, if you do your job as a student, it's quite okay. Yeah, I mean there are resources there that are available to help. So.
So yeah, thanks for sharing. So I can see, you know, like, you know, when it's university life, you know, and it's a good quality university degree, right? It's not going to be just easy for you to get A's, right? You need to work and put the hard work into making sure that you do well. So I can see that, you know, that's where you share that there are resources and good lecturers that will already be there to guide you and help you to achieve that score that you want, or the qualification that you want. And yeah, so I really agree with that. So thank you, Kai and Gwen. So Sylvia, the next question is coming to you, because you've had like 30 years of experience, you know, with the students from UOL. You know, do you have anything to add on to what Kai and Gwen shared, or, you know, any specific areas that you already see that are strengths of, you know, the Malaysian students in SIM? I think Dr. Zhang mentioned a few earlier, like hardworking, you know, but is there anything else that you've also seen?
Well, as Kai and Gwen were talking, I was thinking about, you know, what else I could say. You know, the University of London degree, yes, it is challenging. However, I think it's also very forgiving. So say, for example, this is the latest degree, data science and business analytics. So I'll just use this as an example. So students do first year, second year, third year, and there are basically 12 courses throughout 3 years. Kai and Gwen were exempted because of their SIM diploma, so they bridged into the second year. So they did basically 8 units or 9 units to do within 2 years, and then they graduated. So the degree is forgiving because it doesn't require you to be excellent in every single subject. So there is a method of determining how students can get a first class honors or second upper class honors degree. And it is based on the best 5 out of 9 different marks. And the 9 are out of the 12. So that's why I feel that, you know, students don't have to be extra. I mean, yes, you want to do well in the program, but it's not like, oh my goodness, you know, I did so badly in my management accounting, there goes my first class honors. It's not that, because it's actually based on a particular formula, and it's not based on every single thing. So I feel that the degree is very forgiving. Yeah. And talking about Malaysian students, we have some information that we looked at. This is based on Gwen's class. All right, Gwen, when you graduated last year, you were part of the 304 students who graduated with first class honors. It was a record for SIM. And you see, yes, for Singapore, there were 220 with first class honors, Malaysia 21. But you may think that, oh, how come Malaysia not so good at? No, but you must remember 80% of our students are actually from Singapore in the first place, 80% out of the 5,000. So obviously, you cannot expect that, the Malaysian students are, 200 students get first class honors, or because there are no 200 Malaysian students in the UOL program to start with. It is a high percentage, but it's not like there are 220 Malaysian students. So overseas students actually form 28% of the international students who have first class honors. So although overseas students make up 20% of the population of UOL students, 28% actually graduated with first class honors. And of this statistic, of the 21 Malaysian students, Gwen is part of it, right? So to me, it's a very high percentage that first of all, they do well. And Gwen is also in the part of the 70%. So when Malaysian students join us, 7 out of 10 of them are actually pursuing accounting or banking. Partly because to me, if you ask me, it's because it's easier to get jobs. And maybe if I ask Kai or Gwen, they may know of Malaysian students who continued, because Gwen, I think you might have taken your final exams in Malaysia last year. Were you in Singapore or Malaysia? You took it in Singapore. Okay, all right. Yeah, but so many of them actually, when they finish their exams, they look for a job in Singapore and they do get a job. So Kai is actually part of the minority, but of course, this is not her graduating class. But last year, there were only 9% of students who actually graduated from the business and management. Why? Because, Singapore Institute of Management, SIM, we have so many management programs, Birmingham, RMIT, London, Buffalo. So Kai chose London, all right? That's why she mentioned earlier that she had to choose. So we find that the Malaysian students who choose the University of London program, they know what they're getting into. And although there are quite a lot to choose from, they choose as the London program. But most of the Malaysian students join us because of our accounting and our banking program. And we also took a snapshot of, last year, Gwen's year, of the 122 who graduated. What class of honors did they get? 17% of the Malaysian students graduated with first class and 38 with second upper. So therefore, more than half of them graduated with top honors, first and second upper. And not to mention that second lower is also still a good class of honors, 40%. So when you look at, 3%, 2% who had third class or pass, actually the pass is actually one student, right? So most of the students actually do very well. And that's why we're very pleased that Malaysian students consider the London program, because they can do it, because they can.
That's the reason why when Janice asked me, still don't worry about this, worry about that. Don't need to worry, just take a look at the outcome. The outcome shows, right?
Yes, yeah, so I can see that our Malaysian students are actually doing very well. So don't need to worry, as Kai and Gwen have also shared, there are the resources there to help you get there. So not to worry, just, take the well-informed decision to go into UOL program, and then, everything will be there and provided for you to give you the opportunity to reach where you want to. So maybe with that, as we know, the degree is always there to help us get the job that we want, the career that we want moving forward. So maybe let's ask Kai and Gwen, how has university life in general, be studying in SIM also specifically, helped you to be able to get the job that you wanted when you graduated and until now? Yeah. Maybe Gwen can go first.
I would say if we were to split it to two parts, it'd be the academic part and the CCA part. I would say because I chose to go into a field where I directly apply what I learned in class, so it will be split into two. One is academic, one is CCA. Because I think nowadays actually employers, like for example KPMG, they don't really just look at oh, are you good with standards? Are your debit credits okay? The next thing that they will usually ask in interviews will be like, so tell me, what activities have you joined? Like, okay, if there is a conflict between you and a teammate, how are you going to resolve it? So how do you get all these like skills, like teamwork? Like, how do you actually, it's actually a skill to learn how to deal with different kinds of people. Okay, so I would say being in SIM itself, because there are so many CCAs that are available. I think we have how many clubs? Too many, I don't remember, but we have a lot. So let's say and UL, our timetable is like the class is 3 hours every day. So you have the rest of the day to yourself. So why not you make use of the time and join some CCAs, and then you gain new friends and some soft skills, right? So I would say that the biggest part of getting to where you are, or like actually securing a job, if that's your main goal from being in SIM and UL, is that number one is you have to apply what you have learned in class. Like, I mean, sometimes in class, for example, I'm in audit, right? So like in class, especially my audit lecturer was really good. He'll be like, now you're just learning the theory, but when you're in work, you have to apply it in this sense. So sometimes when you listen, you're like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an auditor. What do you expect? You know, but when you actually go into the field, then you realize, oh, actually what he says is true. You should apply the theories that you have learned in this way. And then when we talk about the co-curriculum activities and the soft skills, I will say it's like you're learning how to work with a team, and not everybody will be the same as you. And you also have to learn like, how do I work properly with people? How do I communicate with people who, for example, maybe she's more shy in a meeting? How do I like get her to voice up? This sort of small things that you would say, oh, yeah, I think it's normal, ma. This is normal living skill. You'll be surprised. You actually have to have experiences like this, which SM provides. Only you can really get to grow this skill and use it when you are in the interview or in work. So that's my view lah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Gwen. So yeah, I can see that Gwen and Kai both are actually two of our students that really joined a lot of things when they were studying at SIM. There are close to 80 clubs. So Clubs in Society, Gwen couldn't remember that just now. But yeah, so they have both been very active. And yeah, like you mentioned, when we come into working life, you realize you really do have to work with all sorts of people from different kinds of background, different kinds of thinking and mentality. And this can all be helped. You will be able to get an experience of that during your CCA time, because you do have to work with people from different parts of the world as well. So maybe Kari, let's see what your experience is, in how you got your job and how it helped so far.
Sure. So like actually, right, I guess when I first came to like SIM, because actually in my high school I did join like a club before, but it's like the leisure kind of club, right? So I always thought like, oh, joining a CCA is actually quite chill, right? It's like, maybe like you just attend a few meetings and here and there, and that's it. So when I first joined, I actually got myself into 3 different CCAs within 1 year. And 2 of them, I think I had like a committee kind of role. So I spent like the first year of my, like SIM life, like basically in SIM most of the time. Yeah. But the thing is, uh, because of all these clubs that I've joined, right? So actually later on in my uni, I actually figured out, what is that CCA that I actually feel like would benefit me and all. So I actually joined like a few lah to list. Like I joined Canoe Polo, I joined like Malaysia Community. I've also joined Global Learning Society, which is like, um, students from overseas will come over for summer schools as well, right? In SIM. So we actually host them, and we also promote to our students like, the different summer programs that the SIM have partnerships with. And then later on, I moved on to career chapter, which is to bring in employers to talk about their industry, to share more about their internship and knowledge and everything. And I think one point to note is that, all these actually really help, because in my previous job, right, I was the team was very small because it was like a startup. So I was sort of in charge of recruiting for my team as well. So when I was shown resume and everything, other than the scores, the grades that we look at, look at, right, like, you know, you having a lot of experience and exposure in different things actually help, even be it like, you know, sports or like, you know, community or yeah, that sort of thing. And the reason why I actually joined so many is because I feel like, you know, y'all is very exam focused, right? So I needed something for like the more like, you know, exercise, like the sports part of me. And you know, I needed like some other like you know, things so I can actually improve myself like in different areas, because UL is very exam based, right? So you know, there isn't a lot of like project work. So all this kind of thing we actually get them from like the clubs, you know, because in clubs, you know, you do a lot of projects and you do a lot of like organizing that kind of work. So it's really like, I think it's like very holistic kind of learning experience by joining all the different CCAs as well.
Thank you, Kai. Yeah, so as you shared the whole holistic experience in SIM, so you do have the part of, you know, studying UOL, and yeah, that it can be exam heavy, but like Dr. Zhang shared earlier, it's actually also increasingly becoming more project works you know, included in part of the modules and the program. But it does give you a whole holistic experience when you are joining CCAs as well. Like, so definitely something we will encourage students in SIM to definitely do that. I mean, I personally remember when I first went out for my first few interviews when I graduated. I also graduated from SIM. I remember going out there, and most of the questions were not exactly just about your cert itself, right? Or what were the modules you took, but really what was your whole experience and how were your thinking processes. And they're just trying to see what your thinking process is, which also comes from, I believe, your degree, because the way the lecturers teach you and the way that they have helped you, you know, learn how to think about things. Yeah. So thank you so much. Okay, so in looking at the time, we only have a few more minutes, so I will just go one round, everybody, to see if there's any last word of advice that you have for our students that are thinking of joining UOL, or students that are maybe already in our diploma planning to go into the UOL program, or even UOL students that are already studying right now. So if I maybe invite Dr. Zhang first to share.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the importance of where you are making decisions that will influence the rest of your life. Okay, I think you really have to do your research and think carefully. Okay, not all the degrees are the same, but at the same time, I think UOL is getting more interactive and more balanced and exciting in a way that we provide the campus for our students.
Dr. Zhang. Yeah, as you mentioned, there are, you know, different programs will also have different style, I think. Yeah, so for example, like Gwen and Kai both studied to different areas as well, so there may be differences as well. So do your research and find out properly, and we have all the staff here that are and also alumni that's willing to share and, you know, give you their thoughts behind it as well when you're making your decisions. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Sylvia, do you have anything to add on to that?
Well, I mean, look at me and Dr. Zhang. We have both been at SIM for 20 years and 30 years. And the reason why we continue here is because the organization is genuine. We want to help students. We want to open doors for students. So truly, we know that we have an undergraduate or postgraduate program for students, and we welcome all of you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, so Kari and Gwen, let's go with Kari first this time around. Do you have any last word of advice for the students?
Yeah, I would say like, you know, just sort of like, I would say utilize your time, make full use of them, you know, like, you know, being in SIM, or, you know, if you're planning to get into like UOL and everything. All the resources are there, you know, all the clubs are set up there and waiting for you to join, you know, like just make full use of them, you know, it's part of that cost, right, that you have paid. So I feel like, you know, these are things that a lot of students are actually not fully utilizing them to the maximum. So I feel like be it wherever you're going, you know, it's good to always plan ahead, you know, like and think about your future lah. Don't just, you know, go and play. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the 3 years of uni life or longer if you're in a diploma as well, it's something you can never get back after you start working.
Yes,
So
that's
make full
right.
use of the time, right? Yeah, join the clubs and everything that you want to. Yeah. Okay, so for Gwen, anything that you like to share?
I think I will just add on to Kai's because um, I think one very important thing that students have to keep in mind is that you have to be brave to step out of your comfort zone. And I mean, the resources are there. So make use of the resources. And I think most importantly is take initiative. Yeah, because like they will say opportunities come to those who are prepared. I mean, other than being prepared, you must also be there to take the opportunity. It's not going to fall into your lap. You have to step out and take it. So I think that's something that students have to keep in mind. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Gwen. Yeah, definitely, things won't just fall on your lap like you said. You really need to go out there and try to get every opportunity that you have. So thank you very much, my panelists today. It's been a pleasure seeing everyone, even though it's virtual. Hopefully it can be physical and face-to-face soon. So appreciate your time, Dr. Zhang, Sylvia, Kai, and Gwen. So we will close the panel discussion today. If there are any questions for our panelists here, please feel free to message in the chat. We will get back to you later on. And also, email me. I think I've left my contact with many people today. So please feel free to drop me a liner and I'll be happy to answer the questions as well. So now we have our next session, which is our corporate sharing by Hyattly. So we have two people with us here today. We have Brian and Shashji. And without further ado, I will invite them. I can see Brian already on screen with me. So Brian, I will leave the floor to you and you can introduce the company and what you'll be sharing today. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Janice. How's everyone doing on a Sunday morning? Thank you so much for taking the time, to actually participate in this. To be very honest, when I was a student, if someone asked me to join this on a Sunday, I wouldn't have done it. So, kudos to all of you, especially amazing, right? So, I think as Janice shortly introduced me just now, my name is Brian. I lead the marketing team here at WOP, actually, soon to be rebranded as Hyattly. So we are a Malaysian job searching platform, to put it simply, that focuses a lot on connecting quality job seekers with the right employers, that actually offers a good working environment, that has values suitable for the candidates. I'll talk a little bit more about that to make more sense of it. But the short version of what we try to do is basically we want to avoid job seekers joining a job that they regret later, right? Joining a company that they regret later, which a lot of job portals do not do more than just connecting people to the employers itself. Then whatever happens after joined the company, that's it, right? So I have some slides prepared to talk a little bit about what Hyattly is, as a job platform. What are the features that we have that rewards quality job seekers such as yourself, to be considered as a priority candidate to employers on our platform, and also general tips basically on how you can position yourself and improve your personal branding to be noticed by employers, right? So let me just share my screen right here. All right, fantastic. Let me just get this out of the way. Now let me know if you cannot see my screen, full screen, yeah? Cool, everything can see clearly?
Yep, can see.
All right, fantastic. So sorry, I know it's embarrassing. It's almost been a year plus since, this whole pandemic happened, but we still rarely use Zoom. Yeah. So yes, like I mentioned, WOP is becoming Hyattly. If you Google anything about Hyattly right now as a job portal, you probably won't be able to find it. But if you go to wopjobs.com, right, you can still see our old website. We are rebranding to Hyattly on the 1st of July. But basically, what does this matter to you? Well, Hyattly helps you make the right move at any point of your career. That's what we want to do after we change, right? So if you're new to job searching, Hyattly provides you with an exclusive insight to employers to help you discover your ideal workplace. a little bit of what I talked about just now. So if you are a fresh graduate, or or you're looking for internships, you're still studying, you're new to job searching, basically, we would help you with a lot of rich media content, such as having employers who care a lot about company culture that attract the right talent to join their company. Of course, basically on a very standard level, talk a little bit about the company, who they are and their values. But what is the most important is that actually you are able to experience their company culture through rich media content on our platform. So over here, you've heard of Shopee, right? I think a lot of people does, you even if you don't know how it's like to work in a company, you have probably used them one or twice. I'll be very surprised if people haven't heard of Shopee. But let me know, I'm very curious, right? But the thing is, what we do here is we let you experience how is it like working in this environment, who are the colleagues are, what are the like-minded people that you'll probably be working with through rich media content. And even going as far as offering some more media, such as featuring how their team usually looks like, working in their office space, and many other things. And this is how our platform will look like when we launch on 1st of July. Obviously, this is still not public yet. So you're actually one of the first few people on earth to see our new website, right? If you see our current website right now, warpjobs.com is a bit old looking for my liking, right? So we have been working very hard on this for quite a while already. So basically, this is how if you were to look for a job or look for a company that you like, this is how your experience will be. Like I said, look at the videos to get a sense of how the people you'll be working with are like. And of course, to look a little bit about their office space, in a sense, what we try to accomplish here is we want to virtually transport you as if you get to know the company before you even step foot in there for an interview, which is especially important now because you can't even go to the employer physically for an interview now, right? You actually have to do it online. So a lot of people actually, when they go for an interview, then they look at the office, they see the environment, they don't like it. And then they, that's a signal that they don't really belong in an interview. So what we do that is we don't want to waste your time. We make you have the ability to check out the employer before you even go for an interview. What more if people join the company and regret a few months later? So as you progress in your career, think like maybe a few years later after you've accumulated quite a number of years of experience, or if you're a very sought after candidate that has like very niche skills that companies are looking for. One thing that we do different from other job portals is that our experienced headhunters from Hirely X, our headhunting team, will match you to your next opportunity. So basically, when you have more bargaining chips, if you will, you have some experience working, you have some more niche skills the company are looking for, you can actually just drop your CV with us. You don't have to search for jobs at all. And our headhunters will look for job opportunities suitable for you. We will propose your profile to employers. And if the employers are actually interested in having a conversation with you to potentially hire you, we will also propose the employer to you. Sounds fun, right? Like, the pains of job seeking totally gone. We let us absorb the pain for you, right? So that's basically what Hirely offers. No matter at what point of your career, whether you're a fresh graduate or you are an experienced person that doesn't really have time to job search actively anymore, we are here for you, right? So yes, this is how our team basically is, and it's still growing, at a very rapid pace. Well, I mean, that's not the full company, that's just the headhunting team, right? So to make it clear, when I talked a lot about I talked a lot about joining a company that matches your values just now, right? I talked a little bit about that. But how do you know what company matches your value? Let's find out. So here are the 7 pillars of employer branding. Now I'm going to play a little bit of an activity with you. So do listen and lean in closely when to hear this. Every employer actually has at least one, usually about 2 to 3 pillars of these 7 pillars of employer branding, right? Let me go through them quickly in a little bit more detail, starting from entrepreneurism. So an employer who practices, who has a pillar of entrepreneurism in their company culture usually has a very creative environment, fast-growing, it's a fast-growing company, and it's also a pioneering business. So when you hear these 3 points, you usually think of like a startup young company where there's not much standard operating procedures set already. And if you join an entrepreneuristic company, you are basically given a goal of what to achieve, or sometimes you have to find a goal of what to achieve to help the company, right? And however you do it, however you solve the problem, it is up to you. So as long as you reach the goal. So just to put it in perspective, like a very, very established company, like an old school company, for example, if you want to solve a problem, you probably have to, you can't be too out of the box, right? You probably have to follow procedures. There's likely rules set in place already that you follow. A lot of predetermined steps that you have to take to solve a problem, if you will, right? So that's entrepreneurism. Now, moving faster a little bit, since you kind of probably would have understood what I'm talking about already. Altruism is like a company that actually, when they present themselves to job seekers, they talk a lot about making the world a better place, environmentally responsible, giving back to society. Something like charity companies, or like companies that talk a lot about the environment or animal rights, for example, will portray this altruistic pillar. Companies with progressive culture, moving on, talks a lot about points that you can pick up that talks about self-expression, autonomy, unique perks and benefits. So if you're familiar with Axiata Group, which Celcom is a part of, right? Although they are corporate, you can see they practice a lot of like self-expression. People there, like even as a professional company, they don't really dress that formally. They let people dress however they want. Our company has worked with like the HR person last time, which has like a very stylish, huge afro. And that's just a signal of self-expression, basically. Career growth. If you hear a company when they position themselves to a job seeker, they talk a lot about like when there's testimonials by the employees, talk about like, oh, I joined this company, within 3 years I became a manager, within 2 years I became like a team lead or whatever, something like that, right? That's an indication of clear path of advancement, merit-based promotion. And they also tout a lot of like learning and development opportunities. Like they would say things like, we send our employees for this kind of training, that kind of training, to be certified in these kind of things, that kind of things. Now, social connection is all about friendly working environment, team-oriented work, and a very appreciative culture. So to put it simply, it's a very collectivistic culture where everybody is kind of like a tight-knit group instead of like a more individualistic work environment, right? Now, if you're lost, please do let me know. I know it's a lot of information to dump on you on a Sunday morning, right? So now, second last is wealth. Wealth company talks a lot about their competitive salary, competitive benefits, high performance benefits. So usually a very individualistic, sales-driven company would portray this. You can think like multi-level marketing companies, insurance companies.
It's 11:45.
Companies of that kind of communication that they do to that they portray themselves, they brand themselves as the job seekers. Now the last one is about prestige. And it's all about well-known products and services, top talented colleagues, and respected leaders. So if you think of like a top brand, like let's say for example in Malaysia, it's like Petronas, like Berjaya. Those are like companies that lean a lot on their messaging on prestige. So now why this is important to you, the activity will make it clear. But this will basically determine what kind of companies are suitable for you. If you look at these 7 pillars of employer branding, you'll probably think that some of the pillars sounds interesting to you, some not. Personally, entrepreneurism, progressive culture, and career growth are the 3 things that matters to me the most. So when I look for employers, I look for these 3 signals. whether they talk about these three things or not, right? So then only I will feel more comfortable in applying to that company, and I don't waste my time on companies that do not, fit my values, for the fear of joining the wrong company and regret later. Now let's play a game, right? Listen to this part. I think I am sharing my screen with audio, but let me know if there's no sound. All right.
Well, PNGers have a lot of fun while at work. We have annual national convention where everyone in the office goes out for a 2-day retreat. We have a lot of functional offsites where we get to go on food hunts, play laser tag, and we even take drum lessons together as a team. We hired a drum instructor, or a bunch of them becoming teachers. It's a traditional drum, so they teach you how to play drums as a team and in sync. And by the end of the 2-hour session, you should be able to play like a song in sync together.
So that was just a very small snippet of a longer video, of like a 5-minute video that I took out from. So it doesn't necessarily convey everything about the company, but this company is Procter and Gamble. You know them for, well, the answer is there, like brands like Pantene, Head and Shoulders. They're kind of like a Unilever type of company, if you will, right? If you're familiar with that, I think that's the closest example that I can draw. But listening to that, what do you think this company fits the most? There's 7 here. I'll simplify for you. There's only one answer that was displayed in that very small snippet I showed you. Let me see your answers. Come on. What is it in the pillar that you saw? Yes, I'm getting some answers. Fantastic. Social connection, right? Yep. Social connection, progressive culture, social connection. Okay, keep the answers coming, but I'm going to review it to you in like 5 seconds. I'll give you 5 more seconds. Okay, time's up, right? So yes, the most evident answer in this video example is actually social connection. But some of you actually picked up on progressive culture as well, which is not that clear in this section, but good eye. If you watch the full video, there is a lot of indication about progressive culture in Procter & Gamble as well. So keep this in mind first, yeah? So yes, congratulations, all of you got the very good answer, got the right answer. Now, here's another example.
I wanted to be in the management team to know how a business actually is run in a huge corporate company, as well as to know more a little bit about how profit and loss is generated, how marketing strategies is done in the automotive industry. The experience in Tan Chong for the past 2 years of the management associate program was great, and now that I have been promoted to the assistant sales manager, my responsibility are even greater. Besides that, I am also working with a group of leaders which are very aggressive and hungers for success, and it's exactly the environment that I would like to work with.
Yep, so that's a small snippet from Edaran Tan Chong Motors, who, to put it simply, they sell Nissan cars in Malaysia, right? So what did you pick up from that small example over here? What kind of pillars? Career growth. Fantastic. Career growth. All right. So in the interest of time, let me review the answer. It is indeed career growth. And one of the things that you can see that they hinted at a little bit, and if you watch the video, it'll be more clear, is actually prestige as well. And also they talk a lot about wealth. So to give you some perspective, right, the reason why I'm showing you this is when I was a student, I saw big famous companies as like a single thing. Like it's either I work in a famous company or I work in a company that is not big and not famous, right? But I want to show you that even big famous companies have very different employer branding pillars, which if you just saw for the example, you might lean towards Procter & Gamble a little bit, or you might lean towards Tan Chong Motors a little bit. It's up to your own preference. from this two example, you probably have one favorite over the other, right? Just from this example, it's up to your own preference. But I wanted to show you that when you're job searching, you know, take pictures of this, take screenshot of this, whatever, base it off something like this, a structure, and not just blindly apply and then, you know, join the company and regret later that it is not suitable for you because the company culture and the value and the practice is not aligned with what you care about in a company, right? So now, moving on, just to let you know a little bit about how employers usually squeeze CVs to decide whether you're the right candidate or not, and what you can do to put yourself in a better position, right? Is that employers actually take 2 seconds to decide whether to skip your CV or not. I know it's very sad. It's very, very sad. 2 seconds, and you know, all your life experience written, or rather your professional education experience written in a CV is discarded in 2 seconds, right? But it is a harsh reality of it. Now, let me tell you what. A job application, don't ever be mistaken that you're only one of the few people to apply. A lot, hundreds and hundreds, sometimes even thousands of job applications go to one job, right? And we have features that make you stand out on our platform, but it's entirely up to you to make yourself outstanding through good personal branding. If you know, we want to help you, but in the end, you have to put a little bit more effort, you know, to make yourself outstanding through good personal branding. And to help everybody understand, your personal brand is basically how you promote yourself. You know, I don't like to use this product because it's comparing people to supermarket products, but it's a very relatable example. Let's say if you know, like when you buy chips or you buy bread or you buy milk, yeah, I know, like sometimes they got, you know, like almond milk, soy milk and all that stuff, but usually milk is milk, right? You know, there's so many brands. What makes you pick one over the other? It's probably like the packaging, you know, what they promise you, you know, as their, you know, nutritional values. And it's basically the same for you. You are a graduate in your own course. You have so many other course mates. And when you graduate, you all are essentially competitors, you know, with each other when you are searching for a job. So what makes you different than your other course mates? Even though you took the same course, right? You need to find that in your personal branding, how to promote yourself. Like I said, we reward good quality job seekers who differentiate themselves. And this is the first way of how you can do that. It's about getting an employer's attention with a personal summary. This is the most simple thing, and I won't even, this feature is actually widely available everywhere, like on LinkedIn, any of the other job portals, and even here as well. But we put it in the very forefront because that's one of the things that our employers look for when screening candidates, right? So when you decide what movie or book is worth your time, how do you decide? There's so many books in the world, there's so many movies. You watch a trailer, you read a synopsis, right? You don't go, you know, watching every 2-hour movie only to see whether the movie is good or not. That's why employers only spend 2 seconds. And this is how an employer's view looks like when they screen your CV. Usually they look at this first. You can see my mouse cursor on the right hand side, the red zone there. This is a job, this is a real application from for a job that I posted. You know, I was looking for a project and events and project marketing intern, right? So I don't look at the CV. There's too many words here. I've just read like how many other CVs already. I cannot be reading every single line. That will take like my whole day, and I can't put in my time in any other work anymore. So I look at this. Final year public relations and event management student, Taylor's world-class scholar, director of ISEC in Taylor's University. Okay, cool. Like, sounds interesting to me because relevant. You know, I don't know what this is about, but sounds okay. But she held a managerial position at one of the clubs in her university, right? So only then I'm interested to read more about her skills. Now you see how this goes, right? A lot of people here put things that are not relevant, like, you know, I am a team player, you know, that doesn't really differentiate you from other people because tons of people say that. So on our platform, when you sign up, this part about short summary is where you should really distinguish yourself to catch an employer's attention in 2 seconds. Now, here's a general guideline of how you can do it. Number one is very simple. It's just describe what makes you special in a way that states who you are, how your education will help you perform well for the role, and if there's any unique achievements, like just now what Kyvan and Gwen mentioned during the panel, when you join clubs and societies, those things are what differentiates you from other people. Yeah, you're a student of this course, so are like the other 50 or 100 people that are in your same intake as well, right? But not everybody joins the same clubs and societies. Not everybody has they go the extra mile to take other certifications. Those are your unique achievements that makes you distinguish yourself from other people. Now, another thing you can add is career objective. If what you wrote in point 1 is not relevant to the job, highlight the role or the industry you're interested in applying for. And what I mean by this is, for example, if you're an accountant wanting to be a digital marketer, right, you really need to state your career objective clearly, that you are interested in applying for a digital marketing job or an internship. Because if I see that you talk about I'm an accounting student, yada yada, and you're applying to my digital marketing job, I'll probably think that you simply applied without even reading it, and I'll reject it. So you need to make your career objectives clear. So the best way to do this without worrying about how to write a nice simple one-liner or two-liner there, right, is do it in point forms. So you start off as who you are. Oh, I'm an international business graduate of Acme University. I learned digital marketing through Google AdWords. That's what made me, that part of education helped me perform well for the role I'm applying for, which is digital marketer. My example is a vice president of a student council, marketing director of a university prom. Those are my unique achievements. I am looking to secure a digital marketing internship position. So that will be my career objective. So your end goal after you have beautified it, cut off trim the fat a little bit on this point form would look something like this. The example that I've showed you just now. An AdWords certified international business graduate of Acme University looking to secure a digital marketing internship position. And I also serve as the VP of Student Council and act as the marketing director of the university prom. So what if this person were to apply to my job as a digital marketing intern, I see that, okay, they have Google AdWords certification, which is a good starting point. One of the things that you need to know for a digital marketer that applies to my role. Okay, they went through this course, okay, noted. What they're looking for. And they also have some extra co-curricular activities that makes them, that I see that they probably have some soft skills. If you were to join all these clubs and societies, you would probably need to participate in projects that may have some conflicts, that may have some problem solving required, right? So I just deduced it from that you have, on top of technical skills, you also have soft skills, So an important note is, do not have overused terms such as hardworking, team player, detail-oriented. These are very, very popular words that I see appear in series of fresh graduates or people applying to internships. And I also did that before, when I was applying for a job. But I didn't know that although it may be true to you that you are hardworking, you are a team player, you are detail-oriented, it's so commonly used that if I open 10 CVs right now and show you, right, 7 of them would have any of these 3 words, like all these things, a good communicator, and all the other generic terms really. So what I can offer you as an advice is, let your experience do the talking instead. When you're talking about you join this club and society, I would have assumed that you have to be a team player to be a part of that club and society, right? Especially if you're holding a key position in the club. You talk about hardworking, but then let's say your grades are not good, and then you don't really, and grades aren't everything, but if you're not joining a club society, your grades have to be good, because I assume that's where you dedicate most of your time, right? And I'm talking to you from a general employer sense. My grades weren't that good. It was okay, but I I kind of helped myself in a way that I joined a lot of extra co-curricular activities. I did a lot of part-time jobs and others to justify my value a little bit. So don't use all these terms. Let your experience do the talking instead, right? Now the second thing is you can actually cut queue, cut the job application queue on Hiredly with our artificially intelligent virtual interviewer, or IVI for short. Okay. Now imagine this. You're applying for this job that you want. And so many people else also want to apply for this job. 99 people have submitted their CV already to this job. So when you apply now, you're the number 100, right? This is you. This is you. Okay. Now this is a normal thing, lah. Why am I always the last one in the queue? The number 2 person will say that, the 30th person, the 50th person will say that. You're the 100th person, you will also say that. Why am I always the last one in the queue? Now, congratulations. We have made your dream come true of cutting queue legally, and ethically. That is usually frowned upon if you go to a restaurant. Like what Dr. Zhang said just now, you're queuing up for food. A lot of people must be good, right? You're the last one in the queue, but this one you can be one of the first few in the queue. So we reward good quality job seekers who differentiate themselves. I say this a lot of times really, but I show you how this is done now through our virtual interviewer. So when you have researched a lot about the company, you're actually relevant for the role you're applying for. When you apply for the job, most of our employers actually have this feature activated, which is a virtual interviewer. It goes on a bit longer, but this is just an example of, they will ask you automatically send questions such as, what do you know about a company? Don't give very bad answers like, oh, you're a company that works in tech and you're a startup. Actually show sincerity that you have researched more about the company, which shouldn't be an act, shouldn't be a farce. Of course, for the benefit of yourself, you should research a lot about the companies, right? Like when you're doing research papers or you're doing your projects, you don't just simply pull numbers out of thin air. You actually do research. But more job applications, you should do proper research, and it shows here. We give you an opportunity to show that you have learned about a company and you're different from the other people who didn't do research at all and simply apply. What do you think you do well in this role? This person says, oh, I have great telephone voice and impressive command of the English language. Charismatic, quick thinker and learner, and all these other points. Answers could be better, but this is a pretty okay answer. If I were to hire this person for a sales role. So regardless of the answers, if you show sincerity and you give the best answer as you can, and indicated by these people who are green color, actually responded to the employer's virtual interviewer, they would actually be highlighted that they are different from all the other 100 job applications. So these 9 people would be indicated to the employer that they did something more than the 99 people, right? And if you do too, you over here, you also did the virtual interviewer questions. Essentially, what happens is, of the 100 people that applied, we would show to employers that these are the persons that you should notice first because they went the extra mile and they answered your questions properly. And if this is you, right, from the 100%, you are now the 10th person in the queue. Or if you answer faster than the other people, right, who haven't answered yet, for whatever reason, even to the number 100, you can actually be the first one to apply for the job. Employers will look at you first because you're the first one to answer. That's how a lot of employers on our platform hire, because we save so much time. Personally, when this happened to me, I had 300 applications for one job. Only about 30 people apply. I only look at the 30 people who answer. I didn't even look at the others, because if they don't care enough to, complete the whole process, right, I just take it as they're not really interested for the job, So that's how I make sure that I only look at people who are of a certain quality. Now, when we talk about how you answer properly, right, knowing a company description is nothing. You have to know about their major achievements, their leaders, their employees, company culture, unique selling point, and also their competitors, And when I talk about competitors, I don't mean like just know that oh, Lazada is a competitor of Shopee. You need to know about, even if you're joining a company like Shopee as an example, you need to know Lazada as their competitors, their major achievements, leaders, employees, company culture, unique selling point as well. So know the industry that you're joining like the back of your hand. It's a serious decision, like finding a job, you're committing. It's not something that you can just try, even if it's an internship as well. I know it's like 3 months like that, but you should make the best out of your internship, right? Find out which company actually gives you the most value for you to, participate in internship with. And just a recap, you can do all this on Walk. If the employer actually showcase more of their company culture. If not, you can always find more information about on Google and their LinkedIn pages as well, right? Much as if you were to do research, you can find it anywhere on Google. So the third and final thing is, on top of all these ways that you can catch an employer's attention, you can let your personality shine through a relatively cold CV as well, with a video cover letter. When you give you a simple example of what I mean. When you text someone or someone texts you, right? Usually it sounds very cold because there's no emotions. There's no. It's just text. Sometimes it's just a very neutral sentence, but you might think that person sounds very angry because there's no emoji or whatever, right? And you can't be adding, emojis on your CV. It's a bit wild, I would say. So I really taught you a little bit about your personal summary at the very beginning, and it's kind of a form of an elevator pitch of why you're relevant to the job. But we have an additional feature, which is the video cover letter that you can record on our platform that actually lets your personality shine through, especially if you're applying for a job that requires to showcase your communication method. If it's a sales job, if it's a marketing job, this will help you a long way, right? And let me show you what I mean. It's built into our platform. You can always update the video cover letter here, and this is an example of a very good video cover letter for someone who is applying for a digital marketing position.
Hi, my name is Samantha and I'm a psychology graduate from Monash University. Although I am a psychology graduate, my passion actually lies in the digital marketing sphere, and I am certified by Google in several digital marketing and search engine optimization courses. I also have some experience in running a small online business in modern calligraphy. I hope that with my background in psychology, artistic creativity, and newfound digital marketing skills, that I'll be a great addition to your company, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Right, so that was the example. And let me just recap a little bit about why this is important. A lot of employers, because we have a lot of features that save the employer's time when they're screening, right? Usually, one of the last things they look at is the CV. They look at the personal summary first. They look at the virtual interviewer chat history that you have sent, and then they look at this video cover letter to see, okay, whether I'm still interested or not. Looks good. Then only they would look more at the CV. Saves a lot of their time and a lot of questions. If I were to hire someone to lead a digital marketing team, I would need someone like Samantha here, who shows she has good communication skills. A little bit apparent on the video. We don't know yet until we call for an interview, but it's a good start for me to indicate whether to see whether she's a potentially good candidate or not. Looking at the other way is also a way for us to reward candidates who go the extra mile, who has all these things that make them stand out from other candidates. On usual platforms, if you are the number 100, the last person to apply for a job, no matter how good you are, you're better than the 99 person before you, you're probably the number 100 to be seen. That's why you get a lot of slow responses. But for us, we reward candidates that go the extra mile, the outstanding candidates. People who put in more effort deserves more attention. That's what we believe, for job seekers. So that's the end of my part. That's our website. currently, warpjobs.com, you can see it, but I'm not too proud of it right now. But I will be super proud of it after the 1st of July when we become hiredly.com. So thank you so much for your time. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Shashti, right now to talk a little bit about the job opportunities with our company itself, Hiredly, and talk a little bit about our company culture. Remember when I talk about the employee branding pillars? Let's see what Shashti can show to us, right? So let me stop sharing and over to you, Shashti.
Right. Hi everyone, nice to meet all of you. My name is Shash. I just as Brian said earlier, I'm really happy to see that all of you here on a Sunday, because back in my day when I was in school, probably about 3-4 years ago, Sunday was not really a day to do anything but relax. I'm really happy to see that you all joined us today. Now I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know if you can see it before I proceed. All right, can everyone see my screen? Okay. I think you can. Okay, great. Yeah. So before I begin my presentation for today, just a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Shash. I have been in the company for about 3.5 years now. Fun fact, I actually started off in finance, and I recently transitioned over to people and culture, right? Specifically here in HR. And today I am going to talk a little bit about 4 main things, right? So at the end of this entire presentation, my goal is that I've answered a few things, including showing you or maybe telling you a little bit about the career opportunities that we have in our company, specifically in marketing, sales, finance, and recruitment, because you are business and finance students. So I think I'll talk about this a little bit more than any other positions that we have. I want to share with you a few tips on how to land jobs within this sector, specifically in our company, Hiredly. And when I say tips, I actually mean like actual things on CVs that I've seen that has like caught my eye in that 2 seconds that Brian was talking about. All right, so I'll tell you a little bit about this later. I would like to talk to you a little bit about virtual internship opportunities, because I think during the pandemic, one of the things that obviously has raised some eyebrows is that you obviously can't come into work, right? And a lot of times people ask me, can I do my internship virtually? Can I work virtually? So I'll share a bit about this later as well. And finally, how to find success at our company, Hiredly. And I just want to emphasize that when I talk about success at Hiredly, I don't specifically mean just at Hiredly. I think these are values that you can carry anywhere, but this is exactly how we think you would find success at our company. All right. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. I want to talk about marketing a little bit, right? So in marketing, at Hiredly, we have 3 divisions specifically. We have content marketing, we have digital marketing, and we have partnerships and projects, right? Again, I'm not going to go too in detail because I do have 20 minutes. I'm not going to go super in detail. If you would like to ask me a little bit more questions on these things, you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Using my name, you should be able to find me quite easily. Now, content marketing. Now, content marketing is basically using social media, email to get your content out there, to promote your brand, to promote your products and services if you're not in our company. Now, how do you stand out as a candidate in content marketing? For me, at least, when I'm screening CVs, right, in the past, some of the things that have sort of like attracted me, for example, one of the CVs that attracted me was this candidate actually put a link to an Instagram page that she was managing. It didn't have a lot of followers, don't get me wrong, and that's not what we're looking at, but the content that she was making, just photography, captioning, her content basically on Instagram. There's even been one like on YouTube, like they make a YouTube channel to show their videos and whatnot. All these things actually contribute to us giving you a call, like Brian mentioned earlier, you need to think of ways on how to stand out, right? And these are things, when I look into your CV, I've seen like 100, 200 CVs. And if there are things like this that stand out specifically, it really boosts your chance on getting that first foot into the door, like getting a call from the HR team. And I think that's when you can actually start selling yourself, right? So these are some of the things that you can think of. If you are, because I understand most of you are still studying, looking for internships, or maybe you're in your final semester graduating, these are things you can consider, making a blog post to show how you write creatively, making an Instagram page, and just posting content there and building your sort of portfolio in a sense. You don't actually have to be in advertising to create a portfolio. You can do things like this as well to boost your chances in getting us to give you a call to interview you. All right. So that's content marketing. The main thing here is to show your persona through these little things that you can do, right? Next, digital marketing. Now, you guys watched the video earlier, the video cover letter, and you were talking about digital marketing as well. And a few things to note there, right? The candidate specifically mentioned search optimization, using like Google to train yourself a little bit more, get certification. And I think this is so important. Digital marketing is sort of a technical role in a sense where you need to have a little bit of knowledge on this role specifically to do the position. And these are great. Like you can actually go on LinkedIn Learning, Skillshare, places like this that offer free trials to go and actually get courses done to boost your chances as well. So like I mentioned, search optimization, digital measurements, things like that. You can go and look at those things to add it into your CV so that when we look at your CV, and I don't think this is specific to Hiredly, just anywhere in general, when we look at your CV, right? If you have these key points, it sort of like pulls you out and makes us focus on you a little bit more because you already have sort of the starting initiatives that you have done on your own accord to get into the company, right? So that's a little bit about digital marketing. And the final thing I want to talk about in marketing is partnerships and projects. For me at least, and Brian can attest to this, I think, partnerships and projects, I think the main thing that we are looking for are people that can lead and work in a team well, right? And a very simple and easy way to do this, I think earlier Kari mentioned, Gwen as well mentioned this, is to be a part of activities in your university, be a part of your clubs and societies and activities, and actually plan events and projects that can be in your CV. And one thing that stands out to me as a HR person is when people include numbers in their CV. For example, let's say you organize an event, you're in the student body, you organize, let's say, a fundraiser, for example. It is not about putting in your detail oriented in the slide earlier. It's about specifying exactly in your CV, using numbers, how much did you raise? Did you raise 35,000 by doing this? And I think that's the thing that keeps you, or that helps you stand out a little bit better, all right? So that was all the things that I mentioned, like how do you stand out, right? In a nutshell, I think the marketing positions, like I mentioned, is divided into content marketing, digital marketing, and partnerships and projects. And these are three avenues that I think if you're interested in, you can explore. You can go to our website and learn more about these as well. So that's a little bit about marketing. The next is finance. Now, in finance, because I was also a finance student, I graduated from accounting and finance as well from Monash. When I first graduated, I think a lot of the times we think of finance as specialization, and that's normal. Like as you grow in your role, you will want to specialize in, let's say, audit or like recon or AP, AR, things like that. But here at Hiredly, I think the one word that I want to mention to you is a generalist. You will be a finance generalist, especially in your internship period, right? You will learn a lot of aspects of finance. You would learn accounts payable, accounts receivable, recon, and all that, right? So how do you stand out? Finance is a little interesting in a sense where when you are interning here at Hiredly, you don't specifically just learn finance. You don't sit down and just learn numbers and finance and how to balance your accounts. You actually are a part of a bigger conversation here at Hiredly, thinking about how to improve the business financially, thinking about how to make strategic plans, be involved in the conversation to expand the business in a sense, right? Now, the most important thing that I look for in a candidate in finance is the desire to learn, how you have researched the company well, how you know what we do. And you can do this through what Brian just mentioned earlier, through the video cover letter, through the IV chat, which is so important. This is exactly one of the main things that we use to screen candidates, how well they know the company, how well they know the people in the company, how well they've researched the company. And in finance in particular, right, if let's say you have been a part of different clubs and societies, for example, if you're part of the finance club or the business club, were you handling the finances of the club? Were you handling the, the budget and whatnot? And these are things you can include in your CV to help us screen and shortlist you for us to actually give you a call right, to get your foot in the door. And I think Gwen interns at is working at KPMG, right? I think she mentioned earlier, it is more than just finances. It's more of KPMG asks questions in terms of soft skills and how to deal with people. And this is so important because we do that as well. Like, and that's what I want to get across is that all companies don't just look at your GPA, your finance ability, controlling ability. It's more of like, will you be able to handle not just the job, but also the people that surround that position? And that is so important for you to have. And so you can include points like this in your CV and your video cover letter and also your IB check for you to stand out. All right. So that's for finance. Now, sales. In Hayati, we have two divisions of sales. We have SME corporate solutions, SME sales solutions, and corporate sales solutions. The only difference between these two are the company size that we cater to. So obviously SME clients, corporate clients. The thing that I want to explain to you is doing an internship in sales is very it's an acquired taste for a lot of people. I think Dr. Zhang just now mentioned how there's so many salespeople in the world, and there's no difference at Hayati too. We want people to be interested in sales if they're coming to do an internship, and I think the key word here is interest. Now, the progression in a sales role is similar to that of all the other roles as well. You start off as a junior, you move on to becoming a consultant, and then you go into becoming a senior, a team leader, a manager, and so on. Now, for me, when I look at a CV, I need it to give me three things. Right? I need to see three things when I'm looking at a CV, specifically for a person that's applying for sales. Number one, I need to be able to see that this person is good at communication and resolution. That's number one. Number two, I need to be able to see whether this person is able to build trust. Is this person able to communicate well for them to build trust? Because I think trust is so important in sales. For when someone's talking to you, you need to be able to give them your full attention and trust. And number three, I would say, is you have to have the willpower, that grit to say, to receive a lot of no's, right? And some of the things that I've noticed in CVs for sales, right, that has attracted my attention are leaders, are people that have been a part of any big groups, societies, any leadership events, because it tells me that this person is talking to people of high level positions and they're able to communicate with ease. That's a big thing to have for someone that's interested in going to do a sales internship, right? Or business development internship. It's one of the same things. Right, so like I mentioned, grit is really important to show that this person is able to persevere with all the no's that might come about. How to stand out. Sales in itself is it's a role where when I look at your CV, when any person looks at your CV, right, a HR person, they need to be able to see that you are able to sell yourself or brand yourself. That's the most important thing. If you're going to sell a product, you need to be able to sell yourself for the company to accept you in, right? And how you can do this is through, like I mentioned, if with more experience, we look at, sales numbers, we look at, have you received any awards, recognition? Obviously, you are not doing that here. You're doing your internship. For your internship, I would say a really good thing to have, as all the other roles, I think the key takeaway is be a part of activities in your university, be a part of projects and events. For example, when you were in school, I think that when I was at least in school, there were a lot of opportunities for me to sort of like have my own booth and sell stuff and that you might be interested in. For example, if you're interested in that, you can do that. That shows that you have entrepreneurial skills. That shows that you have sort of a leadership mindset. And it's always a good thing to have when you are applying for a sales role, right? And we like to see that. So that's a little bit about sales. And so I just explained how you can stand out. And finally, recruitment. Now, recruitment is a really interesting position at Hayati. Now, we have a few different specializations for recruitment: sales and marketing, tech, and logistics and supply chain. For the purpose of this session, I will talk a bit about the sales and marketing specialization, right? How do you stand out? A little bit about recruitment. In a nutshell, it's headhunting, right? This is an area that people go into to help hire people for our clients. It's not internal HR, it's actually external. And it's interesting because we have had a lot of candidates over the past few years apply to this position that is not actually from this sort of recruitment background, right? They might be in finance, they might be in marketing, they might be in economics, they might be in so many different divisions, but they apply to this position because number one, you don't actually forego your knowledge in those roles. Because if you're a finance student and you are trying to maybe look at different internship opportunities, this is a great one to look for, because one of our specializations is finance. And when you are interviewing a finance candidate, it is such a big thing to have finance knowledge, because only then you will understand the jargons and speak to them in an easy way for you to understand what they actually do and how good they are to be placed in a client company, right? So if you're ever thinking about, I know I'm a finance graduate or a marketing graduate, and I'm interested in maybe exploring recruitment without foregoing your knowledge in the degree that you're studying, this is a great one to go for, just as an experience to see whether it's something that you would like to do or not. So that is a little bit about recruitment, right? A key takeaway here, how to stand out, is your cover letter. I've looked at a lot of CVs. I have looked at a lot of resumes over a couple of years. I've been looking at CVs for quite some years now. The thing that stands out to me mostly for this position specifically is how well they write their cover letter, and sort of sell themselves on why they think recruitment is a good sort of role to go into and why they are actually interested in it. Because more often than not, the candidates are not specifically in HR, they're not specifically in recruitment. They are actually from maybe banking, they are in finance, in marketing, like I mentioned. And that is completely fine. You don't have to worry. You don't need to study HR to get into recruitment. You can study other roles as well. And those will add on to your existing skill set to help you do better at this role. And they write a cover letter saying why they're actually interested in going to HR in recruitment, external recruitment. And after reading that, it really helps me see them in another, how do I put it, in a better light. Like, it helps me see them a little bit better and understand why they're actually going to the role. That it makes me intrigued to give them a call. And I think that's the most important thing here. I'm trying to convey that in all roles, right? The most important thing is for you to build that personal profile that shows interest, that makes the HR person give you a call so that you can speak to them and sell yourself better, right? That's a little bit about recruitment and opportunities that we have there. Now, I'm going to jump. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to run a little quicker. Virtual internships. Now, we definitely do this, and especially because of the pandemic. This is something that we started a while back already, but this is definitely what we do as well. Virtual internships, they have their own sort of pros and cons, but more pros than cons, I would say, right? So if you're ever interested in a virtual internship here at Hayati, we definitely can do it for you, depending on where you stay and whatnot. So I'm not going to go in detail here, but if you have any questions about what type of virtual internships we have, how do we do our meetings and projects and events, our discussions, feel free to reach out to me or just Hayati in general, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with whatever questions that you may have. All right. Now, the final thing for the day is how to find success at Hayati, or just in general, any company, I would say. I'm going to show you a picture, and it might seem a little bit overwhelming. Just look at it and sort of pinpoint a few values. These are our 9 core values that we have, right? It's our wall of values. Now, I'm not asking you to look at every single value, but if you look at the chart, you will find a few different values, like 110%, radical candor, razor standards. These are 9 values that we believe that it's the core of the company. It's the core of every single Hayati person in our company. We believe that these 9 values will really help anyone find success wherever they are. And when we're looking at a CV, when we read through the CV, we are trying to find the 9 values in your descriptions. When we read your CV or your IV or your virtual cover letter, we are trying to see whether or not, by reading this, do we see this person taking initiative? Do we see this person taking smart risks? Do we see this person, giving 110%? And that's what we are doing. And I think this is, it translates to every single company. I think that's what a HR person is doing when they're looking at a CV. They're trying to see these 9 values in every single thing. Now, I'm not going to go in detail into every single value. I'll share with you one value before I end today's presentation that I think I needed when I was younger, and I've sort of been able to master it over time, which is radical candor, which is so important to me. Radical candor basically means you're not afraid of speaking your truth, and you're not too worried about, you want to challenge people and be a part of a bigger discussion and not saying anything in a disrespectful way. So you're speaking your truth very clearly. And I think this is something that is very important for interns or fresh graduates to practice, one of the biggest things that I see onboarding new people in our company is they're afraid to speak out, which I don't understand why. Like, we are not your parents. You don't have to be scared of us. We are basically colleagues that are working together to achieve a bigger goal, right, for our company. And it's about speaking your truth and being direct without being rude, essentially, in a very simple way of saying it. If you don't have radical candor, number one, you're not growing. Number two, the company is not growing. And we want everyone to be able to speak their truth. Now, as a one-liner for radical candor, I would say that we want people that think strategically, and we want people to be able to give ideas specifically to the growth of the business. And even if you're an intern or a CEO at Hiredly, we expect you to communicate to us ideas that you might have. Because obviously when you come into the company, you are seeing us in a sort of a fresh set of eyes, and you're seeing things that probably we have not seen. So don't feel afraid if you get an opportunity to intern with us to voice out your opinions. And I think this sort of translates to any company you work for. Like, don't be worried about not giving ideas or sounding wrong or whatnot. Just share it. And at the end of the day, we're all just looking to grow.
Yeah, if I may just add, Shashti, like to be very clear, right? What do you mean by direct and not rude? For us, like when we hire interns, we treat them like full-timers as well. We don't want to hire babies that say yes to everything, let's say if there's an idea that we talk to you about, and you're like, if what you say is, oh, I don't agree with this idea, it's a stupid idea, then it's rude lah. It's direct and rude, right? But if you want to be direct and you want to be, contributing to our company, we don't have things like, oh, we are seniors here, and then like, so what we say, you listen and you shut up. We don't have things like that. We will be like, what you say might be right, might be wrong. If what you say is wrong, right, that means, we can see what you're not understanding and we can teach you. But what you say sometimes could be right, like what Shashti said. Yeah, we've been at this for so many years, but maybe we are jaded already, you come out with fresh perspective, you know how things work better right now. Say it out like, I don't think this idea works. How about we try something like this? What do you think if we try it in this way? Like, we would actually prefer people like that everybody just blindly says yes and then follow us off a cliff. That's what we mean by radical candor.
Right, exactly as Brian just mentioned. Yeah, but I'm not limiting it to radical candor specifically. You can take a look at all our 9 values. You can go to our website and you can see that clearly displayed on our platform, along with a lot of other companies that are advertising jobs in these fields as well. So again, if you have any questions, if you are not clear on anything, feel free to reach out to any of us at Hiredly, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with any questions that you may have. And I think with that, I'd just like to end today's presentation and just say thank you for coming out today and listening to us talk. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Brian and Shashti. It was very insightful, and I think that a lot of our students here definitely benefited in finding out, what exactly does this industry look out for in your company specifically, what kind of roles you are looking at, and the values that you shared. I think I love the graph. And I love how you shared, that the radical candor portion, and I do think that a lot of the students these days are like that, they actually are able to speak up and contribute a lot of great ideas. I personally feel that even in my work, sometimes it's like, wow, I really maybe a bit old already because don't have fresh ideas, but these students really have them. Yeah, so I think, yeah. So maybe right now, I'll just maybe see if there's any questions that anyone may want to directly ask you. So if I could just open the floor for a while, if anyone would like to ask Brian or Shash any questions that you may have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I can see that Ichiro has 2 questions. So maybe you can unmute your mic and just ask the questions.
Okay, sure. Hi, good afternoon. So I have I think these 2 questions is something that I want to know more, is that when in our interview stage, there's this scenario where we are afraid of addressing our interviewers in the wrong way. So is there any ways that we can, is there like a very general way that we can address our interviewers? And the second thing is like, does body language actually bring an impact to the outcome of our interview?
Why don't you take the first question, Shash?
Sure. Sorry, Ichiro, do you mind repeating the first question so I can give you a better answer?
Oh, okay, sure. So my first question is addressing our interviewers in interviews, because
Right.
We can be confused of how do we address, whether it's a sir, Mr., madam, or miss.
Got it. I think in an interview, right, I've handled many interviews, I've conducted many interviews before as well. I think a very simple way to go about this is just asking the right question and be like, hi, before we proceed the interview, may I know how do I address you? And we can move on from that. I think that's a very simple, clear way on how to go about it. So for example, if you're in an interview with me and you're my manager, and if I'm interviewing with you, Ichiro, I would say, hi, very nice to meet you. Before we proceed, how may I address you? And then you just reply to that and we move on. In regards to addressing specific things that you feel like the interviewer might be uncomfortable with, for example, if let's say you're talking about the role and you're not sure how to ask them questions about the role, right? A very simple way to go about is say what you perceive the role to be and where do you see yourself in that position, and ask them, am I right? Or would you like to correct me at any part? Right. And I think that's a very clear way on showing, I think it shows two things. Number one, it tells the interviewer that you're able to communicate properly without any like unnecessary fear. You don't have to be too worried in an interview. I think that's the biggest thing I'd say. Be as comfortable as you can. And I think the only way that comfortability comes about is when you actually research the company, and number two, the person. A very good tip I would say to all candidates, go and research your interviewer on LinkedIn as much as possible before actually going in for the interview, because it's a really good way to get to know them a little bit better before actually going to form that personal connection with them so they remember you. I hope that answers the question. All right.
Yeah. All right. So if I may take your second question, right, it's a lot about body language during the interview. I would boil down to even like when you're stepping into the room as well. And here's a trick that I was taught to portray positive body language without even what do you call it? Without even, how do I portray myself to be confident without even being confident? Deep down, I'm like scared, like, you know, which is, here's what my CEO taught me. Like, first impression of everybody knows is very important, right? And that happens when you go for an interview. Let's say we are still in the physical world, right? When you step into the interview room or when you step into the office, people will look at the doorway because they're expecting you to walk in, right? And the first time I see you is you walk through the doorway. So this little life hack, if you will, is that when you walk through a doorway, when you're going for an interview or whatever, you try to imagine the door frame and your forehead is trying to touch the door frame. Because when you walk in, it shows that your head is held higher. Of course, not like, you know, like in a very outwardly, you know, like you're actually trying to touch the door frame, but it's a good reminder because you remind yourself that every time when you walk through a door frame, you should imagine you're trying to touch the door frame with your forehead. And every time you enter a room, that's where people will see you. So every time people see you, people think you are very confident, you know. But does body language appear, you know, very important for an interview? I would say definitely yes. You know, you do not want to be too stiff like a stick, but you don't want to be like too casual. Sometimes as well, like, you know, I would say the best one is kind of like just lean forward a little bit on like on the table, on the desk, and then like, you know, put your arm something like this. You know, it's respectful. You're not like sitting like you're taking a driver's exam, you know, like 90 degrees straight. It's comfortable, respectful. You know, it's a very neutral position. You know, if you're shaking or what, your hands are tremoring, right? You don't want to show that. You know, it's okay to put your hands like this, you know, down at your thighs as well. You know, but I would say don't overthink body language too much, as long as you're not like rude, because when you're too concerned about it, then you're like too fixated on this kind of things really. As long as you're not like slouching until like you're watching a movie or whatever, right? I would say it's fine lah. You know, we people generally will understand. Don't force it. But if you want to make a habit out of this, right, when you're talking to people, like even outside of interviews, you know, you're talking to your friends or whatever, right? Like you go to your classroom, university or whatever, you know, do the same thing as well, do like the head. So when you practice it, it becomes natural to you already, you know, so it's not like only a mode that you go into when you go for an interview.
Thank you so much for sharing, Brian and Shash. Yeah, and that's a very good tip. Like I've never heard it before, but I can imagine how if like someone walked through the door and was looking at the ground, how would I
Yeah.
portray the person in comparison to looking,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. If I may give a more relevant answer right now, right? Because we're all a lot of doing interviews online now. Um, uh, the first thing is I notice a lot of people when they put their laptop on the table, they're actually very. It looks very weird because usually your head is higher than your laptop, right? If I do this, when I'm working, it's very weird. Like I'm out of frame. Like you're looking up at me, I'm looking down at you, kind of feel. So I will always say use a laptop stand. But if you don't have a laptop stand like me right now, the best way is one arm's length away from your webcam. So if you see my fist here, it's almost touching my webcam. It's one arm's length away, and it looks okay even though the laptop is lower. If you have a standing table one, sometimes like you might get too comfortable in interview and you start to slouch, and because you can't really do that lean forward anymore. You know what I mean? Like some of your tables are not so big, right? And then it looks like exactly what I do. Like I said, you're looking down on people again. Find like a standing table. When you're standing, I feel like it helps to be more confident. I'm not sure whether it helps for everybody. It helps for me, lah. I find a standing table. I put it there one arm's length, and I do the interview when I'm standing, and it's very natural. Helps you be more confident as well.
Thank you.
Just a little fun trick that I do is that I put a pillow at the back so it puts me up straight.
Are you sure that's for the interview or because your back is aching from
Don't reveal it.
Because I know for me it's because my back is aching.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you for the tip.
Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah, for me, virtually as well, if I could just add on to that, for me, it's also the background to a certain extent. I've had interviews where the person is sitting on the bed or, sitting at somewhere that looks like it's under the table or something like that. And I'm like, just wondering, where is this student at? Is she sitting on her bed doing the interview? Or is she, I think there was one student that was under the like double-decker bed. So from my view, it looked like she was under a table. So I was just thinking like half the time, okay, where is this student, right now? Yeah. So thanks so much for the tip. Thank you, Ichiro, for bringing up the good questions as well. I think Winsley has a question as well. So he is on his camera and ready whenever you are.
Thanks, Janice. Hi, Brian, and hi, Shaz. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday morning with us. I just have one quick question based on all the wonderful sharing that y'all gave us. This one question would be, is it all right and is it okay for us as interviewees to ask our interviewers regarding the working culture of the company that we are entering in? Yeah, so that question is posed to both of you.
Right, for sure. I think that's something that we highly encourage everyone to do. Number one, I think the biggest thing when a candidate is applying for a company, right, is that me as an interviewer, I'm trying to see whether this candidate is applying to the position, do they know the company, and are they interested in like having a long-term sort of working and sort of relationship with the company, right? And so for that, as a person going for the position and interviewing for any role, right, it's really important for you guys to actually know what sort of culture you're going into, and does that fit who you are, right? And you have to get to this point where if you are going into a company and if they give you, they tell you the culture A, B, C, D, and if it's not the right culture, don't forgo that, because as you work in that company, you will realize that if that culture doesn't fit what you are looking for, you will not sustain in the company for a long-term position. I hope I'm not being, I'm trying to be straightforward, radical candid if you may, but I'm trying to be very straightforward and say, go for, when you ask this question, which is completely fine to ask, and you should, and when you get an answer that you like, great, go for it and move and pursue the internship. If it's an answer that you don't like, and if it's a culture that does not fit what you're looking for, don't feel afraid to say no to the position, because there are so many companies that are relevant to what you're looking for, right? So that's just the one thing that I like to say, because in my experience, I have a lot of friends looking for internships now as well, and just permanent positions as well, right? And this is one thing that they come to me and they say, hey, like, I'm not really feeling the company's culture. What do you think I should do? And I always tell them, don't forgo that, because I think that's so important. And that's why for me, Hyerly, or when I joined it was called WAP. This is my first job, and that's the reason why I've stayed here for almost 4 years now. It's going to be 4 years. And that's the reason. The main thing is the company culture and the people for me, aside from like the growth of the company and all that. But the culture for me is really important, and that's why I'm here. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, if I may add a little bit to it, right? You can ask, of course, the culture, and it's actually for the beneficial of you as well. If someone is proud to talk about their company culture, it's a very good signal. Another benefit is that you are actually seeing the company culture experience through someone instead of what I showed you just now with the 7 employer branding pillar and the content that people put out of, because the companies put out because they can't be too specific, and sometimes the people being featured in the videos are not too relevant to the department that you are joining. But if I may be very direct with you, Winsley, if you go in for an interview with zero knowledge about the company culture, that's a bit of a red flag, but I'm sure you don't do that. Because knowing about the company culture is how you decide whether you apply to the right company or not. But if you can ask questions that is not so direct, like, can I know more about company culture? But something like, what do you enjoy working? What do you enjoy about working here the most? Or like, how does the team spend time with each other? Usually when there's like, let's say a conflict between departments, how does the team, work together to resolve that, or something like that, a bit less. I can't find the right word, so forgive me if you've come less ignorant, as if you didn't find, didn't search up about anything about a company, but more of like this kind of incidents, of course, that that could come out of that person's own personal experience working in the company, experiencing that culture.
I see. I get the point that you brought up regarding that. Instead of asking like a direct, because my question in my mind, how do we pose this question to the interviewer? So I get the point where you were pointing out, like, so what was your working experience here? How do you work in a team? I think, that's a good one. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much,
Janice,
for this question.
Thank you
So much. Yeah, so okay, I can see that we have also crossed the time. So thank you everyone for staying put with us in the additional 15 minutes. Thank you so much, Brian and Shash, for today. We really appreciate it, and I believe that everyone has benefited from the session today. So if I may just share my slides for a moment. Okay, so just to share upcoming what we have in our office. Okay, so we do have, sorry, give me a moment. Okay, so upcoming, we do have the BU Challenge. It's a challenge that we're doing in SIM by our rep office for our secondary school students. So the deadline is 30th of June to register. So if you have your family, friends, or anyone that you think may be interested, it's the last few days to register. And if you've enjoyed what Shash and Brian have shared today, they will be joining us again next week. So thank you guys for being part of our series for twice in a row, and I think a lot of the students will be very interested to hear from you again. So next week will be about the supply chain and logistics sector, and the following week will then be computer science. So just you can take a screenshot over here if you just to in case there's anything if you want to register for the event. So yeah, this is that. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us or contact me over WhatsApp over here. If you have any questions for Shash or Brian, you can also let me know, and I can also link you guys up together. So with that, thank you all for spending your Sunday morning with me and the team here. Really appreciate it, and have a good Sunday ahead.